Have you ever felt trapped in a cycle of effort and frustration, trying everything to change your life, but it feels like things never truly take off? You spend hours visualizing, affirming, but reality insists on staying the same. What you've been told about change is wrong. The answer isn't in fighting harder, but in something much more surprising and, believe it or not, simple. The problem is, we're addicted to the idea that transformation has to be painful and complex. Our ego loves this story. But what if I told you that the true quantum leap happens in an instant, a microsecond of simplicity, when you stop fighting and start simply being? In this script, we're going to uncover the true secret of quantum change. Get ready for a mindset calibration that will show you how your life can flow with ease and coherence, revealing why you might be unknowingly sabotaging your own happiness. And the best part, you'll learn how to rewrite that story, step by step, using only your attention and your true identity. We live and breathe the idea that change requires a Herculean effort, right? Months and years of struggle, suffering, and of course, sweat. But what no one tells you is that the true quantum leap doesn't demand this frantic fight. It happens in a microsecond of pure simplicity. It's that magical moment when you stop forcing things, stop doubting yourself, and stop chasing something that's already within your grasp. You see, our ego, on the other hand, loves complication because that's where it finds its identity, its purpose as, I am a fighter. The thing is, the ego clings to the narrative that change has to be hard because without it, your old identity, built on martyrdom, simply crumbles. You know that feeling like you don't deserve what comes easy? That's the ego at work, convincing us that only what's earned through effort has value. Simplicity and ease scare us because they challenge everything we've been taught to believe. It's as if we're suddenly promoted from soldier to general without having to fight all the wars. So instead of forcing, the key is simply to be. Try letting go of the chase and for a moment just breathe and observe. Notice that change isn't about a distant destination, but about an internal alignment that brings you into the present. When you stop fighting with reality, reality itself starts to cooperate. It's a frequency shift. You move from the frequency of I don't have to I am. And the magic, my friend, is that this entire shift happens in an instant, a simple touch of calibration. Look, we've been trained our whole lives to think that what comes easy has no value. It's crazy, isn't it? We live in a society that idolizes effort and complexity. That's why when things start to flow in our lives, we feel a resistance, a strange fear, as if we're doing something wrong. This is the tension between the clarity of our soul and our ego wanting to return to the pattern of struggle and survival. The ego is used to drama and difficulty, and ease feels like a threat to its very existence. This resistance is what sabotages most attempts at change. You start getting results with very little effort, life begins to feel light, and out of nowhere, that little inner voice pops up saying, "This isn't normal. Something is going to go wrong." And unconsciously, we create obstacles for ourselves to get back to the fight. After all, the identity we've built is that of a warrior, not a receiver. But the truth is, clarity and a clean frequency are far more powerful than effort itself. It's what the author Ryan Holiday calls the obstacle is the way, but in a very different sense, resistance is the true obstacle. We need to understand that ease isn't synonymous with a lack of merit. On the contrary, ease is a sign that you are in alignment, that your internal calibration is on point. It's like when you tune a radio to the right frequency. The music comes in clean, without static. How about we start practicing detachment from the outcome and simply enjoy the process? To begin, you can try something simple, like spending 10 minutes a day in silence, just observing the ease with which your breath happens, without judgment. This is the first step to desensitizing the ego from the need to struggle. You know, reality isn't a telemarketer that responds to what you consciously say you want. On the contrary, It's a mirror that reflects what you unconsciously are. The quantum field doesn't react to your forced visualizations or repeated affirmations without feeling. It responds to your real frequency, which is, in fact, your internal identity. If deep down you feel like a loser, it's no use spending all day affirming that you're a winner. The universe will deliver you more situations of defeat because your internal coherence, your real signal, is on that wavelength. We need to stop thinking that change happens by manifesting something out of lack. Like, I want money because I don't have it. This only reinforces the energy of scarcity. The truth is, change happens when you become the version of you that already exists in another timeline. It's the embodiment of this new identity. It's as if you're on a ship, and instead of rowing with all your might against the tide, you simply change the rudder to the right direction. The ship starts to move, not through exhaustive effort, but through alignment with the flow. To shift this coherence, the first step is simplicity. Start noticing the little things in your day-to-day life that reflect your current identity. If you're always complaining about traffic, what signal is that sending? If you think you have no time for anything, what does that say about your frequency? Change isn't about doing, it's about being. Calibration starts in your routine, in your attention, in the details. Instead of fighting, observe. And when you notice something that doesn't resonate with your new identity, simply make a different choice in the next second. Let's be honest, most people try to change but can't sustain the new frequency. And do you know why? Because of blind spots. These are the emotional patterns and internal narratives that have become so automatic we don't even notice them anymore. The quantum field doesn't respond to what you say you want, but to what you're emitting when no one is looking, in those moments of silence and solitude. It's in that space that our blind spots operate, sabotaging us without us even realizing it. It's your identity running on autopilot. Awareness of these blind spots can be scary because it forces us to look inward at the parts we hide even from ourselves. We prefer the security of complexity and struggle because that's where our old identity feels comfortable. Facing the simplicity and clarity of the soul without the excuses and the drama is a challenge for the ego. It will do everything to make you go back to identifying with drama, scarcity, and suffering. It is our own mind resisting expansion. To start clearing up these blind spots, we need courage. It's the radical responsibility of asking yourself, what is this showing me about my resonance? For example, if you're always attracting toxic relationships instead of blaming the other person, ask yourself what this pattern says about your identity and your frequency. A good exercise is to start an attention journal, where you write down not only the day's events, but your internal reactions to them, without judgment. It's the first step to bringing the light of consciousness to the dark places of your mind, and that leads us directly to the next point. To make change happen for real, we need a toolkit. The first step is self-awareness, which is simpler than it sounds. It's not about meditating for hours, but about becoming an observer of your own thoughts and emotions. When anger arises, instead of identifying with it, you simply notice it and think, "Oh, anger is here." This creates a space between you and the emotion, preventing it from controlling you. It's an attention exercise that begins with the simplicity of just observing. The second point is radical responsibility. Stop blaming the world, your boss, traffic. This victim stance only reinforces your identity as someone who has no power over their own life. Instead, start asking yourself, what is this situation showing me about my own resonance? This question is a quantum leap in your mind because it takes you out of reactive mode and puts you into creator mode. It's an invitation to take control of your frequency and understand that life is a mirror. Finally, we need to learn the detachment of perception. Our ego loves to label everything as good or bad. But what seems like a failure today could be the final calibration before your big quantum leap. That bad day at work, that unexpected argument, could be what propels you to the new timeline you've been seeking. The key is to maintain your internal frequency, your coherence, regardless of external circumstances. Remember, the goal isn't to control the world, but to control your response to it, and that requires a new level of embodying your inner strength. You know, before a true quantum leap, it's super common to feel a little lost. It's that period of disorientation and confusion, like when the GPS is recalculating the route. Our old self is falling apart, but the new identity hasn't fully solidified yet. The ego panics, interpreting this friction as a total failure, leading us to think that everything is going wrong and that it's better to give up. This is where most people quit, right at the finish line. But the truth is, this isn't a collapse, it's a calibration. Think of it like the static between two radio stations. The old frequency is no longer clear, but the new one hasn't been fully tuned in yet. Life seems confusing, things don't fit together anymore, and we're tempted to go back to the station we at least knew, even if the music was bad. Simplicity here is the key. Instead of trying to fix what is already falling apart, we need to have the courage to be calm and present in this space. That moment of, I don't know what's happening, is actually the space where the magic of change happens. The key then is to maintain radical responsibility for your internal frequency, no matter how chaotic the external world seems. Instead of trying to force a solution, you can practice mindfulness, observing the chaos without getting involved in it. It's the difference between being in the middle of a storm and being in the eye of the hurricane. In the eye of the hurricane, everything is calm. To stay in this state, you can, for example, focus on your breathing for 1 minute whenever anxiety hits. It's a small act that reminds you that your inner peace doesn't depend on external circumstances, and this coherence is what will lead us to the next topic. It's crucial to understand that your energy is like a broadcast tower, always emitting a signal, and what the quantum field truly receives isn't your wish list, but your embodiment, the deep harmony between what you think, what you feel, and your state of being. Think of your life as a radio, an incoherent signal full of contradiction between what you say you want and what you actually feel results in a delay. That's why you visualize one thing and attract another. The universe is just responding to your dominant signal, not to what you're trying to force. Coherence isn't about being perfect. On the contrary, it's about presence and the courage to be who you truly are without masks. The ego loves to try to create a disguise, a perfect image, but the signal that matters is what's underneath it all. That's why the simplicity of simply being is a quantum leap in itself. You don't align by thinking about the future, but by feeling your way in the present. Instead of trying to control the outcome, you surrender control and trust the process, knowing that your frequency is already guiding you. To start calibrating your signal, you can practice paying attention to what you feel. Instead of just thinking, I want abundance, feel abundance as if it's already here. It's the difference between saying, I am grateful, and actually feeling the gratitude in your chest. A simple exercise for this is, before bed, to list 3 things you are genuinely grateful for, feeling the emotion of each one, even if they are small. This helps to embody the frequency of gratitude and send a cleaner, more coherent signal to the universe. And this attention is what leads us to the next point. You know, your attention isn't just a passive thing, as if you're watching a movie. It is, in fact, constructive. The quantum field isn't an empty place. It contains all versions of you and all your possible timelines at the same time. It's like a giant buffet, and your attention is the plate you choose. By focusing your attention consistently and with coherence, you are, in practice, selecting the timeline you wish to experience. Change isn't about controlling the final outcome, but about selecting and stabilizing your attention on what you want to see grow. Our biggest challenge is the ego, which loves to be distracted by drama, by the problem, by what's missing. It spends our attention on things that reinforce our old identity and the frequency of scarcity. That's why, even with all the effort, we don't get anywhere. But the simplicity of directing your attention to the solution, to gratitude, to abundance, is the quantum leap you need. It's a radical responsibility for where you are placing your energy. A super practical way to start using your attention as a selector is this. Instead of focusing on what went wrong during the day, spend a few minutes when you wake up or before you sleep, visualizing what it would be like to live the life you want. But visualize with detail and, most importantly, feel the emotion of already living that life. The embodiment of that feeling is what stabilizes the signal and aligns you with the new timeline, its resonance working in your favor. We come to the conclusion that quantum change isn't something you do, but something you live. It's not a long-term project, but a daily embodiment, a constant alignment. To stabilize yourself in this new reality, you need to stop chasing the version of yourself that already exists in another timeline. The secret is the simplicity of simply being that person. When we stop fighting and trying to control everything, life stops being a relentless search and becomes a mirror, reflecting the coherence of our internal identity. Radical responsibility is what allows us to move out of effort and into ease. It's understanding that our internal frequency, our signal, is the only thing that truly matters. When we finally free ourselves from the need to please the ego and its narratives of struggle, we find peace and clarity. And it's in this peace, in this detachment from the outcome, that the quantum leap happens. To finish, the final calibration is about trust. It's trusting that the universe is always responding to your deepest resonance. It's the simplicity of letting go of control and allowing life to take you where you are already destined to go. Now that you've uncovered these secrets, the question is, what will you do with this new perspective? Will you continue to spend your energy on effort and struggle, or will you start practicing the simplicity of being and the embodiment of your new identity? Change doesn't happen because you wait for it. It happens because you become it. It's time to get out of the audience and get on the stage of your own life. Start with one small act of radical responsibility today. Choose one of the concepts we've explored, whether it's mindfulness, the coherence of your identity, or the detachment of perception, and start applying it. Don't worry about perfection, but about presence. To continue this journey of quantum leaps and delve even deeper into these topics, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This way, you'll ensure you don't miss a single signal that your life can be easier, more fluid, and more aligned.